Good evening, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to the Bombay debate. It's a very, very special form of debate because this is the people versus the experts. An absolutely fantastic endeavor where we are going to be hearing from some really passionate voices, some learned voices from people who will tell you the question that we put before everyone is that should the IPL be held this year? I mean, the whole question everybody's talking about. And of course, many of you would have seen that really fun video which talked about the pandemic in the form of a graph. And all that was being said was, yes, we've had our ups and our downs, but the minute we hear that bugle, the minute that one sound comes, our hearts start to race, the nation starts to pulse. Everybody seems to be so excited because at last there is something that we look forward to that brings every Indian and India together as a nation because it's got everything. It's got the joy of cricket, the joy of great sportsmanship. It's got all the panache of Bollywood, and along with that, the razzmatazz, the fans, all of it put together. But this time, the IPL is being proposed not to be held in India. It is about to happen in Dubai. The second thing is it's happening at a time when there is something called the pandemic upon us. And in such times, is this a waste of money? Is this trying to divert people's attention from what everybody should actually be talking about? Is this the possibility of giving some of our key sports people a sampler of COVID and then, God forbid, what may happen to teams? These are some of the questions that you all sent us on Twitter, and I'm going to be your voice. My name is Roshan Abbas, and I'm the moderator for this debate this evening. With us here are some absolutely prominent people. You've seen them on all the debates, but this debate is different because this is a civil debate, which means two things. A, everybody gets to speak. And the second is, if you have a question and you are the people asking the question, everybody gets a chance to answer. We also have three judges who at the end are going to be telling us which way they felt swayed by the arguments that came, and also letting us know about all the prominent points that were made and the speakers who really impressed them. First, let me tell you who are in this debate this evening. Shri Ashish Shalar belongs to the Bharatiya Janata Party, known to everyone. He has been elected from Bandra twice, first in 2014, then in 2019. He was the president of Mumbai for the BJP and was also the vice president of the Mumbai Cricket Association. Welcome, sir. Lovely to have you here with us. Dr. Jitendra Avadh is supposed to be joining us a little later. He's a little busy in a meeting at the moment. Cabinet Minister for Housing, Government of Maharashtra, and former Guardian Minister of Solapur District, also a member of the Legislative Assembly of Maharashtra. Dr. Shashank Joshi, a person who you've seen a lot of, Dean of the Indian College of Physicians, endocrinologist, and member of the COVID-19 Task Force, Government of Maharashtra. Doctor, thank you so much for all the effort you're taking for the state and for all the citizens. I'm sure that you have a lot of strong points to make for this. Shri Lalchand Rajput, Indian cricketer and the head coach of Zimbabwe's national squad. We'll be asking him where his loyalties actually lie. Jatin Paranjpe, Indian cricketer, member of the BCCI selection committee and now runs a portal on cricket by himself and a team. Shri Neeraj Kumar, 1976 batch IPS officer, ex-commissioner of police, Delhi. After his retirement, he served as the head of the anti-corruption unit in BCCI between 2015 and 2018. I'm sure he will have some strong points to tell us, and those are some of the questions we received from the people as well. These are our honored debaters and speakers, but we have an equally prominent jury. They say that IPL has always had its share of glamour, but apart from glamour, it's had people with an opinion and a voice, which is why perhaps we've got Poonam ji here with us. Poonam Dhillon, everybody knows her, Indian Hindi language, film, theatre, TV actress, and a politician, a former Femina Miss India. She joined the BJP in 2004, was appointed vice president of the Mumbai unit of the party in 2019. Shri Dinkar Gupta, 1987 batch of the IPS, DGP of the Punjab Police. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. He's also decorated with the Police Medal for Meritorious Service and the President's Police Medal for Distinguished Service in 2010. And Mr. Alok Rai from my very own hometown, Lucknow, currently Vice Chancellor of the University of Lucknow, a champion of customer relation management, He has centered his focus upon building a culture of student centricity across various departments, institutes, and associated colleges of the university, transforming the face of higher education. Welcome, all of you, and it's wonderful to have all of you here with us this evening. Starting off, this was a topic. The minute we took this topic to people and started asking them about it, the view started to fly, much like the sixes and fours that we are so used to. But giving us his view against the motion is Dr. Shashank Joshi. Dr. Joshi, your time of 2.5 minutes starts now.
So thank you, Roshan, and thank you everybody who has invited me for being a dissenter here. But I don't want to disappoint all of us. We are in coronized times and COVID times. We are the whole world and the planet Earth has stopped because of a very small RNA virus called the coronavirus. And this virus is predictably unpredictable. And IPL is a congregational sport. India breathes and lives cricket. And therefore, there is a lot of likelihood of overcrowding when you have these sports. So therefore, it's a high-risk situation. And also, it is a team sport. So when there is a team sport, again, there is a congregation of people. And obviously, coronavirus doesn't distinguish between caste, creed, between, type of sports you're playing. So because it's a congregational sport, it is a sport with a team. It's a challenge that are we having a high-risk behavior for transmission? And if you play matches, will there be transmission hubs? Because we are just in the pandemic. We are in the second season of the pandemic as monsoon has set in Mumbai. And though we all love cricket and we breathe cricket, it's a challenge because if you start opening up so fast when almost the whole world is shut out, it's going to be a high risk situation. And therefore, I am not very comfortable of having IPL in India for sure. I know it's moved out of the country. That's a debatable issue, but definitely this is a high risk proposition. And we have seen an England-West Indies game there. But remember that England is out of the peak of the virus and they have passed the peak. They're into their summer season. And still, I'm sure there will be their own challenges. And Mumbai just got out of its peak. Our country is into the peak. The numbers are rising. If you just see the numbers every day, I don't think it's a time for us to give it a break. It's time for us to just wipe off this 2020 as a corona year and move from 2019 to 2021, by which time I hopefully feel there'll be a vaccine, there'll be hope, and we'll be back to our cricketing lives. But I think for the next 6 months, it's worth taking a break.
Okay, Dr. Joshi, that's very well said, and you made your points in just about 2 minutes, which was perfect timing for us. This is a question that came in, which somebody was asking us on Twitter, and I wanted to put to you, saying, can it not be conducted in a few select safe places in India itself? What is the need to go abroad? Doesn't that, in fact, make it even more risky?
So a green zone in India is tough to find, and you can create a green zone. And we have the infrastructure. But remember, currently, all of us are completely overwhelmed by the pandemic. And the government infrastructure as well as the private infrastructure are all on a battleground. It's like a war, fighting the virus, saving lives. And remember, India has mitigated this very well. Look at United States, look at Brazil. They are doing pretty badly. We are world number 3 already in corona numbers, though we are 1.6 billion population, and we have done so well. So all our resources are geared for anti-corona and a corona-appropriate behavior. So if you want to have a corona-appropriate behavior, I think the right thing to do is to just wait for 6 months. I'm sure you can create an infrastructure in a hilly region like a Dharmashala where you can probably have no COVID there and create an infrastructure. But that will need a lot of effort and somebody will have to take up that as a task. And do we have really the task to do that? Or should we be saving lives? Should we be tackling corona? Should we be looking at our economy to get unlocked? So we need to set our priorities, right? It's all about priorities. If you feel cricket is a bigger priority than saving lives, then God bless you.
Wow, what a strong statement to end that on. If you feel that cricket is a bigger priority than saving lives, God help you. Well, God help the next speaker as they have to actually counter that point. And I think we could not have had anyone better than Shri Lalchand Rajput, who is here with us. As I told you all before, he's a former cricketer known to many of us cricket fans. but also a person who has been taking charge of the Zimbabwe team. Let me get him here and ask him for his opinion. Shri Rajput.
Good evening, everyone. I think, as the speaker said, I know lives are very important. So as I think the extracurricular activities, because IPL is a big event. I know a lot of the Indian cricketers who are not playing for the country, they need IPL the most because it's their living, it's their livelihood. You have seen that the economy is bad, the current situation is not good, the jobs are not there. So I think some cricketers who really rely on this cricket and their livelihood is because of cricket. I think it's very important that game is played on. We have seen that England and West Indies, they have shown the way that if you have a bubble created, I think it's much easier for you to cater this game. I know India is very difficult to have the tournament now because A, because of the pandemic, B, because of the monsoon, and C, I think it's been spreading all over the country. So to have IPL here, I think it's not really advisable. That's why the Indian board has moved it to UAE because UAE doesn't have much of the COVID thing. So it's much better that the IPL is played. A, for the players who can showcase their talent. It's a big platform to show that some players who are really keen to get into the national team, I think it's a very good opportunity for them. So it's overall, if you look at that, people are keen to play for the IPL. Once the season is over, they all prepare for the IPL. Now that 4 months they have not been playing any cricket, I think everybody is restless to go out there and show the talent. So I'm sure this IPL will be a big event for the players who are really trying to make a comeback. And especially even for people are talking about Mahendra Singh Dhoni because he has not played any cricket for the last 1 year after the World Cup 2019. So people are talking that if he does well in IPL, I don't know how far that is true, but the only selectors can say he must also be looking forward to play this IPL. So overall, I feel that IPL should be played, yes, in a safer environment, taking into account all the other precautions. I think it will be really, really good for the players and for the franchisees because they also look forward once in a year. This is a time that they play cricket. So I think it's overall people are looking forward to play this game.
Great points made, sir, about it's an opportunity for all the cricketers, not just a couple of star cricketers. This becomes their livelihood. This becomes their time to show the world that they are great for maybe the bigger India tournaments. I mean, many great Indian players have actually been found as part of the IPL. We've seen that. But here is a question that's come from Jaydev Kalamur from the Twitter feed of the Free Press Journal. Which says from data, UAE looks as if it is entering its second wave of coronavirus. How can BCCI guarantee the safety of the players, Shri Rajput?
I think because once the government accepted that they are going to ready for the IPL, so I am sure they must have taken the precautions that how it can be done. I know the corona cases every day is increasing or coming down, but I am sure the UAE government has taken that step to see that everything is safe. Main thing is the players are safe, the officials are safe, and the matches are played in a high spirit. So I'm sure the UAE government must have thought about this aspect as well.
Okay, fair point. Well said. We're going to move on to our next speaker, Mr. Neeraj Kumar. He has been involved with the BCCI before, and I think that's one of the questions that has been asked as well. And I will come to that question, but first, let's get your views, sir.
See, it has been said that we are in a warlike situation. Surely, we are fighting a war, and we are losing, in fact, more lives than we have lost in all the wars put together in the past few centuries. But at the same time, we are also trying to lead a normal life as far as possible. By and by, governments are withdrawing the lockdown in a phased manner, making sure that there is no strong spike in the numbers of people who are affected. And I feel that returning to normalcy say is very, very important. And IPL, the holding of the IPL in a way will herald the the return of normalcy in our lives. It will be a great morale booster for a common cricket lover, and through the cricket lover for other people, and for that matter, in fact, the entire country is a country of cricket lovers. And also, let us not forget that we are the leaders in world cricket, and the entire economy of cricket in the world is dependent upon cricket in India. And IPL is the main money earner. And if IPL is not held for 1 year, we are going to lose a chunk of money that cannot be earned in any other way by the cricketing fraternity. It is out of the money that is earned during the IPL that funds the state cricket associations. And not only that, even our contribution to the ICC and through the ICC to other cricketing nations like Zimbabwe or West Indies or any other cricketing nation who cannot have their own cricket revenue. It is this money that is earned during the IPL that eventually reaches all cricketing nations and cricketers, and also people connected with cricket. So
fair point, sir. I since the first bit of time is over, I'm going to quickly ask you a question which has come up, saying that there is this whole question about betting that always comes at a time like this, when people are not even, common people do not have the money to even earn their livelihood. Do you not think that this will end up promoting once again this culture of betting, and in that people might lose their livelihoods, they might lose a lot of money just to make a little bit more money for a cricket board that is already so rich that it could possibly support every other sport in the country?
Well, that may not be true, because the corpus of funds that is there in the BCCI is not an endless corpus. You have to keep refilling it from time to time, and this is done every year because we hold the IPL. That is number one. Number two, do not forget that it is not necessary for gamblers and bettors to wait for the IPL and IPL alone. Surely IPL attracts the maximum amount of betting in any sport. But people are looking for reasons to bet. I mean, I'm sure there must have been a lot of betting even on the England-West Indies Test series. There would be betting on almost everything that happens. There are people betting even in the COVID figures. So betting, सट्टेबाजी जो सट्टेबाजी करते हैं वो करते रहेंगे. They don't have to wait for cricket and cricket. I mean IPL and IPL alone. So
good point, sir. Good point. Good point made, Mr. Kumar. Very, very well said. That जो आदत से मजबूर है वो तो अपनी आदत से मजबूर रहने ही वाले हैं, चाहे वो क्रिकेट पे बेट करे या किसी और चीज से बेट करे. But it's a fair point that's been moved. We'll come back to you, sir, when we come up for counter arguments towards the end. But I'm going to move on to Jatin, who is here with us. Jatin Pranjpe, who's been smiling through most of this, and I sneaked a view that he smiled the most when I talked about this whole issue about betting and about a cricket body that is so rich. Jatin, tell me, I mean, wouldn't it be great if, and I'm going to put this question and you can of course give me your arguments, but wouldn't it just be great if right now a lot of this money was saved and spent on efforts? I mean, I'm sure Dr. Joshi needs that money. Maharashtra and other states need that money to fight COVID. We've had so many appeals for so many different causes. How do you feel about that? Don't you think it's an extravagant waste at a moment like this?
Thanks, Roshan. I'll come to your question, but thank you very much for slotting my batting position after Lalchand Rajput, because he is my senior. So if you had put me above him, I don't know what my colleagues would have done to me later on, basically. So thanks for that. Coming to your question, Roshan, I think the BCCI has always been a very willing contributor / partner when calamities have struck, and a monetary kind of partner whenever things have been needed. I think I want to kind of touch on 3 or 4 lenses of this entire argument. One is the fact that let's not forget that the IPL is India's big flagship on the international sports marketplace, so to speak. So it is very important that a property like that, which is right up there with the English Premier League or with any of the American leagues, is looked after. The BCCI is also a very very good corporate citizen when it comes to that. As you can see, they have balanced out the entire medical risk and the financial risk nicely by moving to a venue wherein bubbles are enabled to be built more securely. Because that's the need of the hour. You need to have a very secure bubble built around the entire property. As Dr. Joshi said, the entire public infrastructure is now being stretched, and is bursting from the pressure which COVID has put on it. So I wouldn't have thought that India and the infrastructure in India would have been able to handle that. But I think overall it's important that the BCCI to ensure the brand health of the IPL, to ensure the financial health of the BCCI, to ensure the financial health of the broadcasters as well, have taken a very calculated move. And if you've seen, they've waited it out. They were not afraid to postpone the IPL when the first kind of spike hit. So all in all, I think it's a well thought out decision by the BCCI.
Okay. Very, very fair points made there, Jatin, and well done. You gave us quite a few arguments which are there. One of the things that somebody said is that, while we're talking about the coffers being filled, and of course it's needed for the players, for the broadcasters, etc., a point that was made by Deepa on Twitter was IPL is sponsored largely by Chinese brands, and we've got this whole thing happening about our current view on Chinese brands, and this is happening. Do you think that sponsorship will continue? Do you think people might outrage? Do you think people might say, no, we don't want to see this? And then what do we do?
Yeah, I think, Roshan, as you know very well, these sponsorship agreements are very intricate, complex documents, and not easily, lend themselves to be torn up and thrown away. So there are obviously contractual obligations which the BCCI have to adhere to. And I think these decisions will be taken in the medium to long term, essentially, because pulling out of one sponsor, usually deflates the category value of that sponsorship. So I think it's a thin line to tread. I know we are all upset about a few things which have happened in the recent past at the border, but sometimes you need to take the money where you can take the money.
Okay. Well. I mean, spoken like a true capitalist, I would say. But let's move on and speak to Ashish ji, who's here. I remember meeting him at Dubai at the airport, and the thing we were speaking of was cricket. So it's a very favorite topic of his. Ashish ji, what is your view? Why should it be held? Is it the right timing? Is it the right place?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Let me begin with a few corrections. I am not only an ex-vice president of a Mumbai Cricket Association, I was a president of a Mumbai Cricket Association also.
Right.
So today my argument will be largely as a part of the Mumbai Cricket Association than an ex-BJP president. So let me begin with totally agreeable the concern raised by my friend Dr. Shashank Joshi, that of course life is important, and of course there cannot be any other argument which can snatch away the sincerity which argument has been put forward by Shashank Joshi. But when we talk about cricket or IPL, or especially for the IPL, let me segregate this entire argument in three verticals. Number one is a sportsman, number two is a viewer, and number three is obviously the business behind it. Behind it means the affiliated to it. Let me start on the first part of it. 2 days prior, there was one particular news into the newspaper which says that our specially able cricketer went to a private company for getting a job at least of a peon. That was the situation for some of our ex-players and current players. So as far as the sportsman is concerned, let me be totally agree with Lalchand Rajput that we should not see only the coffin of the BCCI, but we have many layers, even the players, then the supporting staff, then the supporting associations, and of course the players who are playing to that supporting association also. So that entire vertical requires a flow of money, number one. Number two, obviously the viewers. I think Dr. Shashank Joshi will fully agree with me. If everybody and anybody is getting happiness in their house by seeing something in this type of pandemic, that joy and happiness one need not to snatch away. So on that part, the psychiatrist or even the doctor like Joshi will obviously say that this fun need not to go away from people's life. Number two. Number three, obviously there are so many allied industries who are working with this IPL. One point Jatin has mentioned about the broadcasters, but there are so many others. So they all are waiting to get something out of it. They also want to do something to earn out of it. And I think the concern which was been lastly I want to make is Shashank Joshi has said that safety norms. Let that safety norms be followed in toto and let's enjoy the game. Let's make everybody happy.
Very, very fair point saying that we should do the safety norms. Do you not feel, Shararji, that we could have done this in India? इतने लोगों की यहाँ पर भी नौकरियां से जुड़ी होती हैं. People who are in the stadium, people who are taking care, and we have to learn how to do this. Why would we give such a big opportunity to another country and not prove that we are talking about make in India, we are talking about भारत में सब कुछ करो, we are saying हम सबसे आगे हैं, पर ऐसी चीज में हमने पहले ही जो था अपना झंडा हटा दिया कि नहीं, we can't do this, ये तो भारी हो सकता है. Why isn't this a really negative thing of treating India in a way?
Now, there are twofold answer to it. First of all, let me clarify that the beneficiary for this IPL is not in Toto UAE. So India is also going to get the benefit out of it in many ways. So let's not say that it is now not, IPL is not made in India, it is made in UAE. It is not so. So the benefits in Toto, it comes to our country also, number one. Number two, yes, obviously, the government of UAE is ready to take all responsibilities and the kind of corona spreading which is happening there. In that situation, that could be remain as the better place. And lastly, those who has to decide this, that is the BCCI, let them handle that situation.
Right. Fair points. I was trying to give Dr. Joshi some more ammunition because he will be coming in shortly with his views. I have a couple of questions, and you all, we will take the next couple of minutes, which any one of you, I will put these questions to you, which came in. Ronald Rodriguez has asked, Jatin, and I'm going to bring this question to you. How is IPL Indian Premier League when it is hosted abroad in the UAE? I think he is also speaking of the same kind of sentiment, saying that how do we benefit from this in any way apart from just being a mute spectator to a sport?
So Roshan, I'll go back to Ashish sir's point that the revenue from the IPL obviously comes to the BCCI. That revenue is split amongst the 33 state associations. It goes right down to paying the daily allowance of a scorer at an under 15 match, or an umpire at an under 15 match, or a local bus operator for an under 15 match, and it could be in a district in Himachal Pradesh for HPCA. For example, so nothing changes from that perspective. There is obviously a slight loss in gate revenue for the stadiums, but that in the overall math is a very small amount. And I think the safety protocols clearly mandated that India would have been a riskier kind of place to have it in, and having players play in a riskier environment kind of puts at risk the later calendar after the IPL, which is Team India playing. So I think there are several dimensions to this entire piece which would have prompted the thinking of hosting it in the UAE.
Okay. Good point. Mr. Rajput, one question that somebody has asked is saying, with ICC tournaments being cancelled to accommodate the IPL, is this not going to lead to the death of international cricket on behalf of Indian cricket? We always put the IPL before everything. Will this lead to other tournaments dying, other teams not getting those opportunities? Why does everybody have to bow down to the IPL only?
No, it's not bowing down, because see, if you have an ICC tournament, there are 16 teams which participate. And to cater for 16 teams in one country, it's very, very difficult, and I think World Cup was supposed to be in Australia. Australian government said that they cannot manage those 16 teams. So that's the reason why the ICC tournaments have been, postponed. But if you look at the revenue, I'm sure that ICC tournament will be played later on. So the revenues will be there with the ICC, and the ICC will be giving it to the respective countries. So there will not be a loss of revenue to the countries. But yes, it will be bit delayed. So I don't think there will be a loss in that. And IPL, I think it's one of the premier, as everyone says, that is one of the premier leagues in the world, I would say, after EPL. And to postpone IPL, as I said earlier as well, because it will be a lot of loss to the BCCI, to the state association, to the players. I think playing in UAE is a much safer, as we all know, rather than playing in India, because we don't have that infrastructure to, play those matches. Plus, the monsoon is not helping, and the pandemic, which has been increasing in some states, I think it is reduced, but I think still it's not that safe. And being in UAE, the UAE government can take that, thing that we will see to it that we are going to cater a very safe environment. I think that's the reason why the BCCI said that it will be going to UAE. Overall, I think everyone enjoys IPL. IPL ka dhamaka sabko dekhna hai. And once it starts, you see the joy in everyone's, face, I would say, because last 4 months, everybody's at home. They are just thinking about and worried about the pandemic, what's going to happen. Once the IPL starts, they will all forget that, and they will start enjoying themselves, and they'll get back to their normal life as well.
Ashish ji, somebody has just asked us a question. In fact, Bhavna Uchil has said that, at such a big thing that was going to happen in Ayodhya, they suddenly found just before that a priest and 16 people have tested positive. Now, the PM and other VIPs were going to attend this. The same thing is going to happen there. There will be many dignitaries. There will be many people. Last minute, par agar aisa kuch ho jayega, to will it not create a panic? Are we not putting the lives of very, very important people at risk by doing this?
So let me tell you one thing, that we are debating for so many months on two issues, whether there should be lockdown or there should not be a lockdown. Now we are going to step ahead and we are phase-wise going towards the unlockdown. Right. If the industry like serials or shootings for a serial can be unlocked down and can go, if industries and small-scale industries can start, if the shooting for the films can start, if the reporting for the journalism can do, I think on that mode, if the leagues for football is already started, why can't we think positive? And in that perspective, if the virus is there and we need to take the precautions, yes, we need to take the precautions. Yes, can you argue like this way? Those who doesn't come out of the house, can Dr. Shashank Joshi tell me that those who are sitting in the house will never get an infection of virus? He can't say so. So there is nothing on mechanism on this. We can all take the precautions. I have heard Mr. Joshi telling many times, please take precautions and be safe. So the same applies to now. And therefore, let's not be a negative, let's be positive about it.
Neeraj ji, there's a question that has come, and I was going to come to you, where somebody said that, what about a player's mental health? When there are topics of, when people talk about betting at one level, etc., it created so much stress for so many players. Imagine a player going, it's like almost sending him into a ground to play, saying, maybe you could get this, but die for your country. It's great entertainment, it's great cricket. What do you say for that? This is a question from Dipti.
I don't think so, because see, as was said by Ashish ji, the threat to a cricketer even here, so let us assume that the IPL was not being held. Now it is not as if all the cricketers who are going to participate in the IPL are very safe in their existing environment. They are also subject to risk. When they are going out and playing in the for the IPL, it will do them a lot of good, because firstly they have been, I should use the word rusting, since February of this year. there has not been a domestic match. There has not been an international match. The last match, as you know, was between India and New Zealand, which finished on the 3rd of March. Ever since then, there has been no cricket in India. Can you imagine the plight and the mental condition of a player who is just sitting and he cannot go out and play, he cannot go out and have his net practice, he cannot show his talent. He must be so cooped up and his skills are at a risk of rusting. So it is for everyone's good that cricketer goes out. He will be in a bio bubble, as has been promised by the UAE government, and the franchisees will make sure that that bio bubble is maintained. And he'll go out and show his skills there, and it will do him a lot of good.
Great, good points there. I think all the audience questions that had come to me so far, I have answered. Thank you, Ronak, Anvesha, Simran, Prateep, and everybody else whose questions I was already able to take. But now I'm going to open the floor for a little bit of cross-questioning. The judges can come in, and or Dr. Shashank, if you have any questions for any of the people on the points they had made, this is your opportunity, because you, sir, are the one person who's still opposing this. And as you can see, many people from the audience have that question as well, and they seem to be making an argument for what you're saying.
So, Roshan, thank you for giving me an opportunity to rebut, because all my worthy friends are highly, my good friend Ashish is a lawyer. He put his points like 3 legal points, and is, having the injection of positivity and happiness. Neeraj is a very respectable IPS officer, and Jatin is like a MBA. I think he by mistake became a cricketer. He should be running a company. And Lalchan, of course, is an enterprise by himself. And I have a conflict of interest. I'm a big cricket fan. But leaving that aside, let me be very transparent. All of them are conscious of revenue, brand, and imagery of this brand. Let us take 2 steps or 3 steps back. And I'm just going to make 3 points. And Roshan, you might need to give me an extra minute, because don't put the pressure of time.
Absolutely. You're a solo, so you get 3 people's time.
Okay, no, I don't need that. So first thing is, let us look back. Olympics was supposed to be held. I was supposed to be in Japan. I love Olympics. And, they have been postponed by a year. So they took a very call. And the whole economy of Japan depended on they were not doing very well. They were fragile. They are a developed nation, and they took a step back to postpone it by a year. So let's look at the biggest brand in sport today is Olympics on planet Earth, because global economies depend on it. They took a step back. They said, let's move it by 1 year. And Japan is a very disciplined country. If it wants to do the IPL, probably that's the one country which can do it extremely well in a most disciplined way. Second thing is big sporting events like Wimbledon, big tennis events, big EPL events, all of them took a seat back. So, that is the one point, that globally, we are still very, very brand conscious of our cricketing brand. And, all these people have their own defense, because they're all linked to this whole community of cricketing brand. And, you can still see some tight matches which are there on the sport, but nothing like living in life. This whole thing of betting is a little eerie to me. So it's very scary and eerie. So I want to bypass that totally. The second thing is an ethical issue. The people who will go there, okay, are we baiting or bartering them? Are their lives not important? God forbid if somebody gets COVID-related storm, if there is an untoward death, who will be responsible? Will all of these people, worthy people, take responsibility of that death? I want to ask that. That's a very ethical question. And I think it's a very fair point which I want to make. That when you know that there's a hazard, and you know that you are being reckless, and also this virus is not known. Yesterday we heard Anthony Fauci, who's the world's #1 expert in the world, addressing our Indian Council of Medical Research and Indian government, that, have corona appropriate behavior. And I think this is not corona appropriate behavior. I think BCCI is rich enough that they have better ways to make money. I think even if their money sits in their coffers, they have better ways. So I think it's not a corona appropriate behavior from an ethical standpoint. And God forbid, I wish them luck. But if anything happens to anybody, including United Arab Emirates, because they are our brothers, and I respect them a lot, and they may have all the air bubble. But just 5 months back, we were not even masking, because nobody knew that this virus was airborne or air droplet borne. So every day we are learning something new about this disease. And here we are on our way to unlock. we need to unlock. Ashishji, I fully am with him because, he has multiple hats and, I don't know whether he'll send me a notice after this. I have no idea. But, he's so perfect in every small thing. And, Neerajji is absolutely by the law book. I respect, our bureaucracy. They are running the country today in a very, very nice way. But I still would like to echo our Prime Minister's sentiments. We are Atmanirbhar. So if you wanted to do it, you should have created an infrastructure in India. I think we are self-reliant nation. That is number one. So that is a disappointment. Number two, you are risking lives, even if they are in some other country, and even that nation's lives. They are also our brothers and sisters. And number three, when Olympics can be moved out, and an economy as big as Japan, which is world's number 2, number 3, number 4 economy, can risk themselves, I think we are being a little too fast. And I only wish that there is no untoward event. I pray that everybody is healthy and we all have fun and we all get, absorbed in the tense pressures of these matches. But I think we should wait for 6 months. I still feel that this was a little premature and reckless decision. I only have realized one thing, that the strongest vitamin on planet Earth is vitamin M, and that is vitamin money. That dominates everything else, and everything else is secondary. And that's a little sad. So I'm a little disappointed and sad. Thank you.
Very, very, very big points that have been made there. I'm going to let it open to the judges now because they have the opportunity to ask their questions. Alok ji, Dinkar ji, Poonam ji, if any of you have questions and you can pick and choose. Shall I start with Mr. Rai, if you have a question for any of the speakers? Yes.
Yeah, to start with, a good debate is one where when you listen to people speaking for, you think they are right. When you listen to people speaking against, you think they are also right. That is very interesting thing. I have another observation to make. We have 5 panelists. 1 was speaking against, 4 were for. But the questions coming was equally opposite from the audience. So can we derive some meaning out of it? I think we can. But I've got one question to people who are speaking for and one to Dr. Joshi. If I may put my question to Mr. Shelar, he was speaking about this lot of initiatives and the rationale, especially the economic rationale of such events. But then my question is, if you could, if I may request you to think of the situation, what had happened to the brand Coke and Pepsi when this pesticide issue with Coke and Pepsi came up? It was probably the short-sighted approach of the brands. Don't you think this BCCI's initiative is again repeating the case?
No, let me reply your question by attaching the issues raised by Dr. Shashank Joshi. Look, I have never argued about only brand, but when we discuss about Atmanirbhar Bharat, yes, I would like to make some submissions. The Atmanirbhar Bharat doesn't mean that I have to be in the pool of only small country or a small area or a small place or a one country. When my brand, when my sports, when my following, when my catchment area, when my eyeballs can be entire world towards India, that is the spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So if I can catch the eyeball of the United Arab Emirates and many more countries, it is the spirit of the Atmanirbhar Bharat one. The short-sightedness is not there. What can I specially make a submission here as? Because we are only talking about brand and the benefits and the drawbacks of the same. When we compare Olympic with the IPL, this comparison itself, according to me, doesn't match. The month and the year when the organizing committee of Olympic decided not to hold the Olympic, there was no thinking about vaccine availability. Today, when we are here, of course, threat is there. I am not saying that we need not to be worried about that. But when we have seen some of the controlling acts or the availability of the vaccine or what best practice as SOPs we can follow to minimize the risk, something is available for us at this juncture. So Olympic, when they decided that time, it was totally dark. And today when we are better than me, of course, the expert can explain it. So today with the precautions, if the UAE is agreeable, if the players consent, if the 14 days quarantine has been done, If the matches before matches they have been tested, of course the crowd pooling will not be there. All these precautions will be taken care of and trying to minimize the risk. Of course, nobody can say there would be zero risk. So by minimizing the risk, if we can have the unlock done, let's unlock be done.
Okay, good point.
I had a question to Dr. Joshi. And I would like to draw a line that he spoke in his first round, and that was, it is for BCCI and people to decide whether cricket is priority or human life. Dr. Joshi, don't you think there is a contest between the physical health and vis-a-vis mental and financial health? And also, there is a point, you were referring to vitamin M. What about vitamin H, vitamin happiness?
So I think, Professor Rai, you teach in a university and I teach in a medical university. Two things you need to understand. Happiness and mental health have nothing to do with just a sport. You can still revive those sports. I am not against that. I myself am a fan. But I must tell you one thing very honestly. When there is a risk which is unknown, unpredictable, and we are still in the midst of a pandemic where we are trying to grapple with it, I think this is a little restless behavior and a little reckless behavior. We could have waited for another 3 months for better safety valves to be in place. What we have done is we have parked it to another environment and mitigated our risk on somebody else, which is not Atmanirbhar. And those are my only humble submissions. I do concede to you that happiness is very important. Positivity is very important. In fact, every Sunday I do a show with Dr. Shetty, and that is why Mr. Shelar feels that I have become a half psychiatrist, where happiness is so important. And we had Sunny Bhai, our Sunil Gavaskar, on that show one day, and we had Harsha Bugle once on that show. So I completely agree with you that having mental resilience, not allowing the players to rush, keeping them in action is equally important. But I think sometimes if the risk is high, then we need to draw a Lakshman Rekha. And sometimes that Lakshman Rekha can go tricky. One good thing they have done is they have not drawn it in our land. But Ashish ji very rightly said that they have parked it elsewhere. But I still feel that there is a little risk. And that risk is not worth it. Do you really want to do and go through this hardship rather than waiting for a couple of months more? That's my only point. And it's a very simple point I make and a very transparent point I make. Thank you.
Mr. Dinkar Gupta ji, in case you have a question, or Poonam ji, if you have a question to any of the people, Poonam ji, I'll come to you, and then Dinkar ji, I'll come to you. Yes.
Well, I heard everybody, and everybody's consensus seems to be to go on with it. The reasons mostly seem commercial. I think commercial seems to be driving the whole fact that commercially good for the cricketers, for the sponsors, for the BCCI, ICC, various people. I agree that it is very important, and not only cricket, every other industry in our country is needing commercial help and things to be pushed and helped to come back to their feet. So, in fact, cricketers are probably the most well-secured and padded people. There are a lot of people who are on daily basis. Our industry is hurting like unbelievably because we have so many other things. But anyway, having said that, I don't want to get into that aspect of it. I just want to say that, okay, taking all the precautions, so did, the tennis league. And what happened to Novak Djokovic and the Adriatic Tour, if that happens to our IPL, who's going to be responsible? Who is going to take the responsibility of that? I mean, I'm sure they took all the precautions, and he was very positive that, yes, this is going to be safe. And so many people, I believe even the pregnant wife of some of the players were affected. So who takes the responsibility? And is it only commercially driven? That is my question to all the people who are propagating going ahead with it. It will get us joy, but so is so many other programs coming on television. I'm wondering if this is the only thing which will give happiness to the whole country.
Jatin, do you want to respond? And I'll come to Mr. Rajput after that.
Sure. So I think, there is a very strict SOP which has been put into place for the IPL. It involves traveling to the IPL, I think 10 to 14 days in advance of the camp there is a very strict testing protocol in place as well. So while this isn't a zero risk, I think the custodians of the game have tried to ensure that they control what they can control, and I think the world of sport and the world at large has learned a lot from the world of sport, has learned a lot from the Djokovic experience, for example. Now you are seeing the big American leagues as well, establishing bubbles of their own. So while I understand that there is an argument for the safety, for the health safety, I feel confident that certain protocols have been put in place to ensure that it doesn't spiral into something else.
Okay, Mr. Lalchand Rajput, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, as Jatin rightly said, because there are a lot of SOPs and strict SOPs have been taken into account. The whole world was really looking forward to when this sport started. First and foremost, the England and West Indies series. So they had to come 1 month before. They had to be quarantined. Then they had to be quarantined again just before the game. So a lot of precautions were taken. And now that we have seen the 3 test match series has been done, extremely well. There was no casualties, and people have started taking into their stride that yes, we can start these tournaments again. That is the reason why BCCI took that long. It never said, because they kept on postponing it, and then when the time came that yes, I think UAE was ready to host this, they will take a lot of precautions for the players. Players will be quarantined, and I think they will have a good bubble as well, so that the players are there, officials are there. To be very honest, I would say that lot of precautions have been taken so that the thing which has occurred to Djokovic doesn't happen. And we always learn by mistakes. I would say that we learn by mistake. That was one mistake which happened in the tennis, this thing. And I'm sure the ICC, the doctors of the ICC also will be there to take those precautions and test the players. Because if you look at the Pakistan team, which went to England just now, there were a few guys who were tested positive earlier. So they were, kept aside. And after that, 14 days, they again tested. And if you were tested negative, then they were sent to England. But the England board will also be testing there. So there are a lot of phases in testing as well. So I'm sure the lives will be secured. And we always feel that, such things should not occur. But as I said, UAE country has taken a step forward that they will be taking this very seriously, and the testing will be done, and the players will be safe as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Just coming to Mr. Gupta, who is getting the last set of questions in. I hope he fires like the true DGP that he is. Let's have some investigative questions from you, sir.
Thank you very much, Roshan. It's been a great experience listening to everyone. And but I kind of, want to take a conservative line on this, because I quite agree with Dr. Joshi that we are into a second wave. Like in Punjab, we are, so the mood changes with what you're passing through. And in Punjab, we are looking at a peak. We are entering a very critical phase. We feel the next 60 days, 75 days. So it is very kind of, so we need to take a step back and take a little conservative position, because I've seen happening. We have a BSF camp in one of our districts where almost 18% of the trainees, they have tested positive. We have army camps in Punjab. So, and people are pretty reckless, whatever protocols you put in place, I'm sure they're very robust protocols, but what we are seeing in India and abroad also, whether it is masking, we have collected a whole lot of crores of rupees as fines for not having face covering, etc., etc. So people are, and sports and partying and all that, the social kind of activity kind of makes you lose your inhibitions and all that. So I would think that the elected part of it, and I also the hope and the optimism that a vaccine. Two things I'm told are around the corner, like in the next 2 months. One is hoping that there'll be better medicines to treat COVID patients so that we have less mortality, with less fatalities and deaths. which we are seeing happening in Punjab also. And then also a vaccine, I would think that, so it's kind of like we are already end of July, this is the last day of July, and I am very hopeful the next 3 to 4 months are going to be fruitful and productive as far as both good medicine, treatment, and a vaccine is concerned. So I think we can make up for lost time and soon. And I would like to take a conservative kind of line. I agree with Dr. Joshi, with Poonam Dhillonji, and of course I am a sports fan. I think we shouldn't have crowds anyway, but if we can do something in a bubble for entertainment, apart from money, entertainment is very important, mental health is very important, some exhibition matches, something like that, which can be beamed all over, and some real interesting stuff. I think that would be very welcome. Thank you very much for having me here, Roshan, and thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Not at all. It's been wonderful to hear all of you. What an amazing debate where you have three judges who, if we had got them to speak against the motion, possibly Dr. Joshi would have had a lot more ammunition with him. But it seems that Mr. Rai was talking about people's happiness, talking about vitamin H, and talking about what people... Ashish ji is going to have a final say like the lawyer that he is. So I'm going to ask him to definitely give his views.
No, nothing. Just one comment. Obviously, the debate was good. Roshan, you are very good. And if Dr. Joshi permits me, I will see that in the month of October, November, December, his cable will be off.
Wonderful. This seems to be, but I must say that Dr. Joshi, you made a very, very passionate argument, and that seems to have actually carried the debate your side, because two of the judges have said that Poonamji said that she would prefer to take a view, because she found it the only aspect cannot be commercial, and I do believe that she seemed to have gone with Dr. Joshi's argument. Am I correct in assuming that Poonamji, just for the sake of the debate, so that I know, because I just tried to give a verdict of sorts?
No, my question was who's going to be responsible, because I understand every industry is going through financial crisis, and the financial well-being of the Cricket Association and the cricketers cannot be the only reason. Yes, entertainment seems to be one of the things that people will get happiness, vitamin H. But is cricket the only way to give them happiness? I don't know. So that was my question.
So you are, if you are left with a doubt in your mind, you have to decide right now whether you are letting the motion be carried, or are you saying no, we should reconsider doing
also,
the IPL?
Living in Mumbai, we are seeing Ganpati is postponed, all religious functions are postponed, things which give people actual happiness, right? And that is done with sensibility and logic, and also with caring for people's health. We can't just let everybody have happiness at the cost of hurting themselves, their families, their neighbors, their loved ones, and spreading it again. So certain restrictions are given for that reason. But having said that, I will say that if all the precautions are taken to that level, and if they can actually beat it without any kind of crisis happening, hats off to them, and I wish them good luck. And I think that will be an achievement of the care and thing taken by all the people concerned. And I hope the cricketers also behave very responsible and don't think of it as, now we are okay, we are clean, because it takes one exposure for anybody to get infected. It may not show up immediately in 24 hours. So, those are the things. They will literally have to be guarded like in prison. If they are willing to do that, yes.
Completely agree. So I think as of now, we seem to be in a halfway house where Dinkarji is saying that please remain a little conservative. He's seen this spread and whatever, and maybe with a little more precaution, maybe after a little bit of a delay, this could have been a lot better to do. Alokji seems to be actually in both boats, because his point was, yes, there's vitamin happiness at the same time. Yes, it's important. So I'll let him have, because all the judges should have the final word. Alokji.
See, as a jury, my mandate was to grill both the parties.
Correct.
So I was not trying to be judgmental by myself. But then there are logics, and that is why what I said at the very outset is that when you listen to Dr. Joshi, you think it should be postponed. When you listen to people speaking for you think they are also right in their own perspective. So
there seems to be I get your point.
These are the initiatives that certainly there are a lot of gray areas and not only black and white.
I agree. So I will rest this debate on saying that the House is divided, but what has really been carried today is the spirit of good debate, because I think that's been missing from our discourse, that's been missing from our television channels. We've been able to hear each other, been able to respect each other's views, made a lot of great points, and the decision, of course, ultimately rests with you, the viewers out there. But I think very, very succinct points made by all the speakers. Thank you, judges. Thank you, speakers, for doing this for us. The Bombay debate has concluded its first very, very successful edition. Thank you, Dr. Joshi, Mr. Kumar, Shri Shelar for being here with us, Jatin, Shri Rajput, and our judges, everyone. Thank you for making this such a wonderful, wonderful first edition of the Bombay debate by Free Press Journal. And thank you, the ABP group, for being a part of this entire exercise. As the chairperson, I wish you all good health and safety. I hope you all remain sane, sanitized, safe, and entertained with cricket or without. Thank you.